Good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to be here to provide an update on how our government is supporting school divisions and Albertans with our accelerated capital plans. On April 9th, our government announced that we are doubling the province's 2020-2021 capital maintenance and renewal funding from $937 million to $1.9 billion to stimulate jobs and support growth in Alberta's economy. As part of this initiative, I am happy to announce today that $250 million from that funding will be directed to school divisions for school upkeep and renewal. By making this unprecedented investment in school maintenance and renewal projects, our government is supporting school divisions while also creating jobs that will support Alberta's economic recovery during these very challenging times. This funding will accelerate hundreds of projects in all school divisions across this province, while creating an estimated 3,750 jobs that will see more Albertans working again sooner. These projects will be valued between $100,000 to $2.5 million each, and every school division will be receiving funding. This is intended to allow school divisions to complete even more critical maintenance and renewal than they had planned to do so within this year's infrastructure maintenance and renewal program, providing upgrades to schools and communities all over Alberta where they are needed most. Budget 2020 is also investing $194 million in my department's infrastructure maintenance and renewal funding. This additional investment of $250 million is an acceleration of the future investment in school maintenance and renewal projects. And this is not intended to defer or replace currently planned projects for 2020. School divisions will be required to continue investing the infrastructure maintenance and renewal funding already approved in our Budget 2020. These new projects will proceed in parallel with what is already existing. This strategic initiative is great news for staff and students who will benefit from more healthy and safe learning environments, as many more projects will now move forward right away rather than having to wait. Our top priority is funding projects that can move forward immediately to support the goal of creating jobs and boosting our economy. And every school division will be required to report back to my department on how many jobs were created by this maintenance and renewal funding and the projects that they have chosen to move forward. My department will work with every school division to ensure that these dollars are invested in the most efficient and effective way possible. I also want to make clear that this initiative is an acceleration of investment in school maintenance and renewal projects, and it is separate from funding for new schools and modernizations. This funding is specific to maintenance and renewal funding in existing schools. Approved projects must align with the requirements of Alberta Education's infrastructure maintenance and renewal program and fall within one of the following categories: building envelope, such as roofs, doors, windows and exterior finishes; mechanical, such as plumbing, heating and ventilation; electrical, such as lighting upgrades; structural, such as foundations; site improvements, such as parking lots, repairs, regrading for drainage, etc., and interior upgrades. To ensure funding is being used effectively and the goals of this stimulus program are being met, I'm asking school divisions to report on the projects they are able to move forward with by the start of June. We will provide a public list of these projects once they are finalized, and the majority of projects are anticipated to be completed by October. Thank you, and I will now take your questions.
All right, so we're going to stick to one question, one answer. You can always get back in the queue if we have time. So, moderator, could you please put forward the first caller?
Our first question comes from Lisa Johnson of Post Media. Your line is open.
Hi, Minister. Thanks for taking my question. I just was wondering if you could clarify. The $250 million is separate from the $194 million in infrastructure maintenance and renewal funding. And I'm wondering if you can also comment on the plans for this fall, if anything's moved forward in terms of reopening schools and in your talks with school boards.
Yes, thank you for the questions, Lisa. So your first question, the $250 million is in addition to the $194 million. The 250 comes from the provincial government's infrastructure maintenance and renewal additional stimulus funding. So that is doubling the existing dollars from 900 and some odd dollars to 937 million to $1.9 billion. So of that additional funds, education is receiving $250 million. So it is additional infrastructure maintenance and renewal funding. So separate, totally separate from the 194, which was already budgeted in the 2020-2021 school year. And then as to your second part of the question, the reentry plan, we are making good progress with all of the education partners, and hopefully we'll be able to share something in the near future. So stay tuned on that one.
And we do have time for a follow-up, Lisa, if you have one.
That's good. And this is also, actually, this is separate from the school funding that was announced by Minister Panda some weeks ago. So that would have been part of the $194 million that was already budgeted, or can you clarify that?
So I'll need to get back to you on that because I'm trying to, there's been a number of announcements. I want to make sure that I answer the question you're asking. I believe you're asking about some of the capital infrastructure dollars that were announced, which is accelerating the building of schools, and that is under a capital fund, not under the capital IMR fund. Those are two separate dollars that were announced, but I just want to clarify that I'm actually answering the right question, so we will get back to you on that one.
Yeah, I'll give you a call right after this, Lisa. Moderator, could you put forward the next caller, please?
Our next question comes from Janet French of CBC. Your line is open.
Hi there. Thanks for taking my question.
Hi, Jen.
My question is actually about curriculum review. The advisory panel reported back in January with 26 recommendations. We haven't really heard much about that since there was a survey on the ministerial order, the revised ministerial order. So what happened to all the feedback from the survey? What happened to the recommendations in this curriculum report? I realize this is a bunch of questions all at once.
Right.
Are you adopting any of the recommendations? Are the curriculum working groups meeting during the pandemic? And what is your timeline for making any changes to curriculum?
Well, that's a lot of questions, but thank you, Janet, for those questions. We did get a fair bit of feedback on the ministerial order, and so unfortunately, COVID did interrupt the progress that we were making in that regard. I anticipate providing something fairly soon. There's a process we have to go through, and I'm hoping to have the ministerial order in place quite soon. Beyond that, the curriculum working groups and the work on the curriculum is continuing to proceed. Actually had quite a lengthy meeting on it yesterday, and we will be sharing more information on that very, very soon, Janet. So again, unfortunately, stay tuned, but a lot of progress happening, and looking forward to sharing that as soon as I can.
We do have time for a follow-up if you have one, Janet.
You said that there was a lot of feedback on the ministerial order. What was the tone or message in that feedback that you received? Overall,
they very much, the feedback we received was very appreciative of the work that had been done, and that most were in, I would say, overwhelmingly supportive of the actual structure and the things that were mentioned in the ministerial order. But there was some constructive feedback that perhaps we could tweak some language to consider certain items in there. But again, I look forward to sharing that very, very soon with you.
All right, moderator, could you please put forward the next caller?
Our next question comes from Andrea Rezamuta of Great West News. Your line is open.
Thank you, Minister. I was wondering, since you mentioned that school divisions have to report how many jobs are being created with the money that they're receiving or would be receiving, is that one of the criteria for actually receiving some of these funds, or is it more based on need for each division or school? And my second part is there a distinction between rural and urban school divisions in terms of, I don't know, students served or something like that? Thank you.
No, the criteria that had to be met was that it had to align itself, as I said earlier, with our infrastructure maintenance and renewal requirements, that that list of items that I had read off earlier. The dollars are being dispersed right across the whole school division, through every school division, right across the province. So rural, metro, urban, every school division in this province will benefit from those dollars. As far as the criteria in terms of jobs, we are certainly hoping that those jobs will be local jobs, that they will go out to people within those communities, and that they are shovel-ready jobs, that things that are very, very much needed, that school divisions wanted to see done, and this is a way to have them done in a more precipitous manner than we would have been able to. Perhaps they were on their longer-term plan. Now we can do them this year rather than having to wait another year or two down the road. So very, very good news for our school divisions. I know they'll be quite happy to see this, and happy to provide a breakdown of what every school division in this province will be receiving out of that $250 million.
And Andrea, we have time for a follow-up if you have one.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's a timeline for divisions to be submitting their sort of shovel-ready projects to you.
Well, the way we came to the $250 million was very much we asked school divisions to provide to us the list of what they have already shovel-ready, and then we determined if those projects met the criteria. And we are asking that all school divisions by June 1st now provide us a list, a further list. Now that we are able to refine it and give them the exact dollars they'll be receiving, they can finalize those actual projects and give us that list by June 1st.
All right. Moderator, could you put forth the next caller?
Our next question comes from Eva Ferguson of the Calgary Herald. Your line is open.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to talk more specifically about the school upkeep and how the minister plans to work specifically with school districts to ensure that school upkeep is connected to COVID preparedness, because I think it's fair to say if children do come back to school in September, the virus will still be with us. So I'm wondering if you can talk about how school upkeep mitigates risk and whether you're directing school districts to ensure that plumbing is in order, that air ventilation is in order, that spaces will be reconfigured so that there's more spaces in classroom for social distancing. And I'm wondering why this is not part of your announcement today.
Well, again, we're looking at a very detailed reentry plan that I was able to share the broad strokes with you a number of weeks ago now, where we have 3 scenarios that we're looking at. And, of course, we are waiting for protocol guidance from Alberta Health and the Chief Medical Officer, which we have been working behind the scenes on getting. Once all of that information is available, we are definitely consulting with school divisions. Every school division, and as you would know, Eva, there is quite a range of unique challenges right across the province. Every school division is in the best position to make decisions for their school division as to what is required. And so this, again, is an opportunity to accelerate infrastructure maintenance and renewal projects that would be a year or 2 or several years out. But now we have an ability to get people back to work and also to have school divisions tackle some of those projects that have been on the books perhaps for a little while for them. So I see it definitely as a win-win situation, a win to get more people back to work in a very timely manner, a win for our school divisions to be able to tackle some of those projects that are much needed. And yes, they will be looking, I'm sure, at through the lens of what the COVID reality means for their school divisions as they tackle these projects.
And Eva, you can go ahead with a follow-up if you have one.
Yes, I just want to ask the minister what she thinks the COVID reality will mean for what schools will look like in the fall.
Well, right now it's too early to say, but I'll just reiterate the fact that we are, as I've said before, we are hoping for the best and preparing for the worst, and we are ensuring that we have plans in place that when we come back that we can deal with every eventuality.
All right, and moderator, could you put forth the next caller?
Our next question comes from Janet French of CBC. Your line is open.
I'm back. Thanks for taking another question.
Hi again, Janet.
On the capital maintenance and renewal, I'm just looking at the list of the allocations for each school division and charter school. How did you decide how much each division would get?
There was a formula put in place by the department. Every school division had their asks. They provided projects, a list of projects. They provided the dollar amounts that they were looking to receive. And then it was up to the department to work through that list and ensure that they met the requirements for infrastructure maintenance and renewal, and that they were able to go ahead in a very timely manner. As I said, we are expecting these dollars to go out right away and stimulate work right away. It's actually, in some ways very, very good timing as we don't have students in the schools right at this present time, that some of these projects can actually be tackled right now. And of course, always ensuring that the workers are in a very safe environment by the COVID restrictions, etc. So it was done at the department level, ensuring that every school division was allowed what they could get for the projects that they were needing to get done.
All right, and I believe that's everyone we had in the queue. So if anyone has any further questions, my contact information is on the news release, and you can give me a call or email me. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.